Welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Trey. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, listen, no matter how you're consuming, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you for being here. We got a really good show for you today. We've got linebacker Dylan Pettway on the program. He's going to be with the San Antonio Gunslingers for the 2025 IFL season. So I got a chance to talk with him about his football journey so far. He spent some time playing in Europe, and he spent some time in the IFL and the NAL last season. So got a chance to talk about his arena football career so far and what he's looking forward to in 2025. So we'll get to him in just a couple of minutes. And then later on, we'll touch on some IFL and AF1 news that some player transactions in IFL and AF1 has not as many player transactions, but more so a partnership that's super exciting and I think could do some good for the league. But before we dive into any of that, please make sure you're following us on socials at Off the Wall FB. F as in foot, B as in ball. We are on Instagram. We're on X/Twitter. We're on TikTok. And we're on Blue Sky as well. So not a lot of people on Blue Sky, but hey, if you're on there, go give us a follow. We're trying to build that up. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Thumbs up, like the video, subscribe to the channel, growing this thing out to make it as big and as good as it can be. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're rating the show, you're liking the show, you're sharing it with a friend, you're going over to YouTube, you're commenting, you're liking, doing all the subscribe stuff, all that stuff. So really appreciate all the support so far with everything, and looking forward to some of the things we got coming down the pipeline. So let's jump right into it. Here's Dylan. All right, joining us on the show today, we have a linebacker who will be suiting up for the San Antonio Gunslingers in 2025 and has spent the past couple seasons playing for a couple different arena and indoor teams and a little bit in Europe, which we'll get to here shortly. His name is Dylan Pettway. Dylan, really appreciate you coming on the show. All season's winding down. We're getting closer and closer to preseason, training camp, regular season. How are things in your world heading into 2025?
Things are going great. I'm getting healthy, getting stronger, getting faster. I can't complain. Just been working and working out, training. So it's been peaceful. It's been great holidays too. So everything's going good in my world.
All the boxes seem to be getting checked, which is a great thing. When do you report out to San Antonio?
March 6th is the report.
March 6th. Okay. So it's like what, 6 weeks away at this point? It's not far, but not super close either. It's in that
like
sweet spot.
50, it's like 52, 51 days, something like that.
But who's counting, right?
Yeah. Right.
So tell us a little bit about your football journey so far and what led you to arena and indoor football.
All right. So my last game in college, I was approached. I don't really know if I'm allowed to say that, but I was approached on my last game on senior day by the Fighters, and they told me to come to the open tryout, and cool, I'll do that. And so it was actually the day after my graduation, and so I wasn't allowed to celebrate my graduation. I had to have an early night.
Yeah.
And so I went to bed around 9, and then I woke up at 6 and drove to Melissa, Texas, and tried out for the Fighters. I had a really good tryout. They told me to stay after and talk to them, and so I did. And then they told me they invited me to camp, and so I feel like I had a pretty good camp. They told me I had a good camp, but then I got cut within the 6th or 7th day, something like that. And then they told me, they were like, look, we'll call you if we want you back. We really like you.
Mm-hmm.
Basically just kind of leaving the door open, but I would ask questions, not got any calls back.
Yeah. Right.
And then, so I was just like, all right. So I just kind of charged it to the game. That was a
Ball
hard
up
one.
top.
That was a hard one to take to the chin. I'm not gonna lie. That one hurt a little bit. And then, I kind of thought it was over. And then I was approached. So fast forward to the summer, I moved back home. I got a call from the Gridiron crew, and they told me that the Mureș Monsters out in Romania are interested in me and they want to talk to me. So I interviewed with them, and they really liked my interview. And so fast forward to around the end of August, early September, I flew out there. The flight was crazy. We got so many delays. So we got delayed 4 hours in Atlanta, and then a 17-hour delay in Turkey. It was crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah. So it was about a little under a day of traveling. It was probably like 22 hours, something like that. And
Man.
then so yeah, I got there, and then so I helped coach, and I played with the Monsters, and that was a really fun experience. They set me up with room and board, food, uh gym membership, which was walking distance. So I
Very
had a
nice. Okay.
nice little daily routine: wake up, make breakfast, walk to the gym,
Right.
come back, do whatever I needed to do throughout the day, and then had practice around like 7, 8 o'clock at night. And it was great. It was honestly a great experience.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And yeah, it was fun. It was, I think my favorite part of the whole experience out there was just coaching and teaching rather than just playing. I think that was the most fun thing than watching like the local guys improve their game.
How did that work? Was it like a bunch of American guys came over and played and coached like you were saying, or was it like
It
a half and half? Like what did
it
that look
was
like?
okay, so how we did it. So there was two other guys from the US, and one of them was named Keem. He was our quarterback. The other one was named Jeremiah. Well, which we called him Jay.
Hmm.
He's from North Carolina. So we were all like kind of we're drivable distance from each other, like pretty
Right. Yeah.
close. And so Keem was like the offensive coordinator. I was like the defensive coordinator. Jay was the special teams guy. And so we kind of just split it up evenly with each other. And Jay
Hmm.
would coach receivers, and Keem would coach like O line, running backs. And so I would go help at the O line sometimes. And then I would coach the linebackers and D line. And then there were two guys out there who really helped me with the DBs. They were both veterans out there in Europe ball who were
Hmm.
just local guys. And they really helped me. They were a big help. And so I just trusted them with the DB duties, but I would call the defense. And we really improved throughout the season. We finished 2-3. We only played 5 games, but you could tell people really improved their game and
Right.
started having a lot of fun. And like I still text with some of those guys. I still chat with them. And so I built like some pretty good relationships with them out there. It was really fun, really fun experience.
Yeah. If you
And
ever
so
need a place to crash in Romania, you got a couple guys now.
right. I mean, that's what they say. They say,
Yeah.
come visit, man. You got a place to stay. I'm like, all right, cool. The same vice
Yeah.
versa. Come to the US. You got a place to
Yeah.
stay.
You just got to worry about getting there and you're all good.
Right. Yeah. The flight's not cheap for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they covered the flights. So I forgot to
There you
include that.
go.
They covered the
Yeah.
flights because I don't know if I would have won if I had to pay for that one. But
Yeah, that would have been tough. So
right.
you play in Romania for a couple months. What
Hmm.
did that transition back to the US and back to the indoor arena game? What did that look like?
Coach Kaiser, when he was the coach at Omaha, he's
Hmm.
like fresh off a championship out there. He actually is the one who texted me and Nick from the Gridiron Crew and was basically saying that he's interested in me and stuff like that. So Nick texted me and was like, "Are you interested in playing for the Omaha Beef?" And I was like, "Dude, yes, get me
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
yes, like anything to get back in the U.S. and arena football is fine with me." And then so Coach Kaiser and I were talking for a couple of days, and he was like, it was funny because he asked me, he was like, "Are you willing to come play in Nebraska?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm in Romania. I'm willing to play
Yeah.
anywhere." Like,
Yeah, look where I'm at now. I
yeah,
think like I'll go to Omaha. Yeah.
yeah, right. And so that was kind of that. He was like, "All right, look, I really like you, so I'm finna send you this contract, and if you could send me back as soon as possible, like let's get this rolling." So I did. He said,
Very
as soon as
cool.
he sent me the contract, I signed, and that was all she wrote with that.
Nice.
And it was crazy because he got fired, and that was wild. And so I was kind of like worried. I was telling my parents, I was like, dang, like, dude, this guy got fired. He's fresh off a championship. Like, what does that mean for me? Like, we're 2 months away for the season.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
does that mean I'm I'm not gonna be on this team anymore? Like,
Yeah, you're
what
on
does
the
that
outside
mean?
looking in without knowing it. Yeah.
Right, right. And so then they hired Coach Tatum. And so Coach Tatum like just ended up trusting all the guys that Kaiser signed, and we just basically rocked out in Omaha. Had a great season out
Very
there.
nice.
It was really fun. I made some really good friends out there. Really good. Met some really good people. I still have a lot of connections out there too. And the coaching staff out there, for them trusting me and believing me when at the time that they did, was honestly, I just learned a big lesson out there, was just to stay patient, because I have trouble with patience sometimes. So that
Yeah, yeah,
I just kept my head down and just kept working, because I started the first game, got defensive player of the week against Carolina, my first ever arena start. Then the Sioux City game, and then fast forward to the Sioux City game, like away at their place. And
yeah.
so I played defensive end. I had to fill in a defensive end, and then I had a really good game at defensive end. I had like 3 TFLs, 6 tackles, like it was going, just had a really good game at the end. And so
Yeah.
then I'll never forget, we go to Colorado, I'm pretty sure the next week. And then Coach Terry, our offensive coordinator and receivers coach, he walked up to me when like the ones were out during warm-ups, and he asked me, he was like, "Are you not starting today?" And I was like, "No." Then he walked up to Coach Tatum and Coach Knight and was like, "Dude, this guy needs to be starting. Like, what are y'all doing? Like,
Yeah.
what are you guys thinking?
Right. Yeah.
Put him at nose for all we care.
Just get him on the field.
Like,
Yeah.
just get him on the field." And
Yeah.
so pretty much like in the second quarter of that game, I started for the rest of the season. So
Yeah. A little bit of patience, a little bit of adversity, did you good. And honestly,
yeah,
there
consistency
are,
too. Consistency
yeah.
too. I stayed really consistent that off season, like with meals, sleep, water intake,
Right.
uh, weight room, cardio, and even film. Honestly, like I wouldn't watch that much film in the off season, just because like I don't know the names of I don't know our playbook yet, but I would just see like
Right.
who we're playing, and seeing how their offenses ran, and seeing like just something to expect. And
Right. Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and then so yeah, so I would just watch something just get like an image just ready for myself for it. And then so
Right.
I was just really consistent that off season. I'm really trying to implement that again this time, and I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job so far. So
Good.
yeah.
Well, there are certainly worse places you could have been than Omaha
Oh
in
yeah,
terms
no.
of the Omaha Beef. Omaha Beef have been one of those franchises that have been around for a long, long time, and in the arena and indoor world, that's not very common. So tell me more about your experience, like not just like playing in the slaughterhouse, which by the way,
Mhm.
amazing,
Amazing.
amazing nickname,
Amazing.
one of the best by far. But
Yeah.
like just about the culture, the fans, like as a whole, tell me more about that Omaha experience.
So you know what they say about like Nebraska and Iowa people? They're just the really nice, like the nicest people ever.
Salt of the
But
earth, yeah.
yeah, they actually are. And it was actually, I actually have family. I have family in Washington, Iowa. So like I already kind of have a taste of that
Yeah.
growing up, going up there and stuff. But like I really got to experience it by living up in Omaha. Like
Mhm.
everybody up there is really nice and really, really welcoming. Like they're not scared to talk to you. They're not scared to ask how you are. And that's fine with me, because I'm really a personable guy too. Like
Yeah.
I'll talk to you all day if you really, just like to talk. So like
Right.
it
Yeah.
was fine with me. I had a great welcoming experience up there. So, and then living up there, Omaha was a really cool town and
Oh.
really cool city. It's actually pretty big.
Yeah.
Because House of
I've
Bluffs
done.
is like right next door, and that's a pretty cool place too.
Yeah. Like that whole metro area is like deceptively big. Like
Yeah,
when you're like looking at a map, you're like, oh, there's Omaha. But when you're
right,
actually in it, it's like, oh wow, this is city. Like,
right. And the College World Series was really fun too. Like that was a
oh,
really
that's
fun
yeah. I
time.
forgot about
Yeah,
that.
hmm that was a really cool time. I've always wanted to go. So I'm honestly like I'm a big Ole Miss fan, and so when
Okay.
they won in 22, I was like, hell yeah! Like this is the start.
Yeah.
Uh, we finally got one. Now it's about to keep rolling, but we haven't even sniffed it ever since. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah. But like
Yeah.
being up there with like all the Tennessee people and all the North Carolina people, like it was just really cool to see. Honestly, it was really cool. I'm glad I got to experience that.
Yeah, and especially while you're living there, it's like you don't have to
Yeah,
worry about traveling there. You're like, all right, wake up, go to the college World Series.
right.
That's pretty
And
sweet.
I didn't even have to worry about having a room either. So that was
Yeah,
also a plus.
yeah, big plus.
Yeah. And so honest, oh, forgot to mention them, but back to what I was saying about consistency. Like I went to this place called Achieve every single day with my teammate Rock, and like we just went there every single day to get to do our active recovery, our weight training, and to do our recovery after weight training. So we would do like stem compression ice and then lay in like the red light bed out there like every day, then go get food after. Like we had a nice little routine out there. Yeah, it was Achieve was a really great place. So if anybody's listening that's going to Omaha, be sure to utilize Achieve. They will welcome you with open arms and they will take care of you, and they're great people.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Achieve Omaha.
Achieve. Yep.
So tell me about the end of the NAL season, the end of Omaha, and then heading into the IFL season. Omaha obviously had that crazy championship game in the NAL.
Right.
What was that like from your point of view? Like that just seemed like one of the craziest games, not just in indoor arena football, but football games in general.
Right. Yeah, that was the craziest game I think I've ever played in ever. Like I've witnessed some crazy games like growing up, like, you know, just being a part of, but I think that one takes the cake by far. Like we anything that could have happened. Like we almost scored on the first play to Jordan Barton down the sideline, or down the wall, not the sideline. He gets down at the 1, then Tommy runs it in, and then they get the ball. They almost score on the first play. Like, it was crazy. And then next thing you know, we're up like, I think like 32-17 at halftime or something like that. So it's a big lead going into half. And so in arena football, and people that know arena football, there's no such thing as a big league. You can get right back in it. And it's blink of an eye. And that's what happened. We let them come back in it. And then it was just kind of like a back and forth. Who's going to screw up? Who's going to capitalize on the mistake? Who's gonna like who's gonna do what, you know, who's gonna anchor down first, pretty much. And so
down to the wire.
And so we also had a Sports Center top 10 play in there, and I think it came in at number 2. And
nice.
So our DB and receiver, Jew, he this dude had a crazy interception, like diving interception. Then he returned it all the way back for a pick 6, but they called it back due to like a blindside block. But
boo.
Yeah, boo. It wasn't even a blindside block. He led with his hands. But that would have been the end of the game. But we ended up going to overtime.
Right.
They come out with a trick play, scored off that. Then they tried to go for 2, which was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if they should have done that.
In hindsight, probably not. Yeah,
but we were ready to go we were ready for it. And I actually think it was the second overtime they tried to go for 2, or they missed the PAT or something. But they scored in second overtime, and then then we scored, and Paul kicked the PAT, and that was it. Like that was just the most back and forth. Anything could happen. Like if you were there, you were there. Like this, you won't experience it anywhere else. Like,
no,
that was a crazy game, craziest game I've ever played in of football ever. Like I had to come, like it was hard to come off of that. Like for like 2 weeks, I was like, I cannot believe like I just played in that. I can't believe that just happened. Like that's something you dream of. Like that's something you like wish for, is to play in games like that. So.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be more emotionally exhausting than physically exhausting at that point. It's just back and forth.
Yeah, it was, and it was like verbally exhausting too, because I was like calling out the fronts and stuff. Yeah, and we actually got like we actually brought in like a brand new nose tackle like that game.
Yeah,
and so I was teaching them before the game. I was telling him where to go during the game. Like, you know, it's new to him, so it was kind of hard to like.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to grasp and stuff, like in a championship game in the heat of the moment. So it was like, it was really like that was like just exhausting in itself. And then,
I believe it.
And so like, but he came up to me afterwards and was like, dude, I really appreciate you. Like, and I was like, yeah, like no problem, bro. Like, it's what we're supposed to do.
Absolutely. So you go from Omaha in the NAL, and then you end up signing with Sioux Falls in the IFL. What did that conversation look like? Because you went from one season directly into another in the middle of the IFL season.
Right. Okay. So actually what happened was before the championship game, one of the coaches that I was like in contact with actually called me and was texting me, and he actually met my uncle uh at the DFW airport like train. And so they were talking, and my uncle was like, "Hey, my nephew plays arena football and stuff like that." And he was like, "Oh, really? Who is it?" And then he told him my name, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember him." Just
Hmm.
kind of a little nice little back and forth. And they both sent me pictures with each other, and then they were like, "Hey, like I see you're in a championship, so you're having a really good season. Good luck to you. We're gonna see if we're gonna try and bring you back after your season's over with, so you can try and come and win another one. So be sure to win tomorrow."
Yeah.
And so after like a week after the Omaha season's over, I report down to Frisco again. And so I have spent like a week there. We had like 6 a.m. lifts, uh, practice right after, film right after, stuff like that. Felt like I had a pretty solid week.
Hmm.
Uh, the DB coach told me I had a really solid week, but then they were just like, "Look, we're sorry we wasted your time. Uh, we really just don't have need for new guys right now. So we're like any new guys we just brought in, like
Right.
we're sending them home today, and we really apologize for wasting your time." And so I was like, "All right, that's cool." Which I basically had uh was talking to Gridiron Crew, and I had contacts with Sioux Falls. Coach Dre was trying to
Okay.
get a hold of me. So I got a hold with him like that same night that they cut me or released me or whatever. And
Right.
so I talked to him, and then the next day we talked on the phone. And yeah, so I packed my stuff up again and went up to Sioux Falls like the next day. And then I was just ready to get back in the IFL and try and get a taste of that. And so uh yeah, so it was just crazy. I was going from like the highest of the highs with Omaha, and I just went to like the lowest of the lows with Sioux Falls. Like
Yeah, no kidding.
Sioux Falls is a very historical program for people who don't know,
Very much so. Yeah.
and probably just as historic as Omaha. I don't think they've been around as long, but they've been around for a long time.
They make up
They've
for as many championships as
Yeah,
they've
they do.
won.
They got like what is it, like 19 or something, some
It's
crazy number like
it's
that.
it's in the double digits. It's
Yeah,
somewhere up there.
yeah, so it was like, but this is like the worst season they've ever had, and
Yeah.
but like I went up there, uh, I was I wanted to play. I wasn't gonna really take anything from anybody. I was just gonna go out there and just be me and try and be the best leader I can, best player I can,
Yeah.
and while I'm protecting myself too. So I was out there
Yeah. Yeah.
giving it all every practice, giving it all every weight room session, and giving it all every game. And I felt like I actually did pretty well for. I feel like, I mean, I definitely could have done better, but everybody, you're supposed to think like that as a
Yeah.
competitor. But
Of course. Yeah. So what was that like going to a new team in the middle of the season? Like obviously, like you mentioned, Sioux Falls's season wasn't going according to plan as they would have liked it. But
right,
what's it like, kind of getting in getting in the mix with everybody and like working your way into that? Like at that point, relationships and understanding and camaraderie is kind of developed among some of the teammates. How do you find your way?
right. Well, they honestly they welcomed me with open arms, and they were just ready to work. And so I just kind of read the room on most things and just inserted myself. And so both my roommates, Trez and KG, they welcomed me with open arms, and so we
Very
just
cool.
got, yeah. And so it was great. Uh, it was really cool. Coaches were cool. Everybody that was affiliated with the Storm was really cool. I really hate that they went dormant this year.
Same. Yeah,
But
it's a bummer.
I mean, I was planning on going back, but I'm really excited for my San Antonio opportunity.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It seems like hopefully the Storm come back in the future. Like you said, it's a
Right, right.
historic franchise in indoor and arena football, regardless of what league they were playing in. But yeah, as you mentioned, you got that opportunity in San Antonio. You signed with the Gunslingers for the 2025 season. What did the process look like when it came to choosing a new team to sign for 2025?
It was actually crazy. So as soon as the Storm went dormant, I was talking to Coach Dre. He was the one who called me before I found out like anywhere else, like
Hmm.
on social media or something. So he called me and was like, "Hey, we will not be playing in the 2025 season. Like, I'm really sorry about that, but like, just things happen, yada
Right.
yada." And so he was just like, "Look, if you need anywhere, if you need any like recommendations, like I got you. You know how we rock." And I was like, "Yeah, that's cool. Like, I
Hmm.
appreciate you."
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And so I was talking to Gridiron Crew again, Nick and all them. And so they were really helping me out. They kind of got on the ball quick. And so within like probably like 4 hours, I got a call from Coach Manaz, and I was talking to him for like an hour. And then he texted me the contract. And so
Wow.
I was still kind of hesitant about it. And then I received a call from Coach Wooten at Fisher
Hmm.
at Fisher's, and I talked to him for like a good hour. And again, I was still hesitant, because it was a pretty abrupt decision. So I just didn't want to like have to make it right away. I wanted to weigh options and
Right. Yeah.
stuff like
Which is
that. And so
that's the smart thing to do. Yeah.
right, right. And then I get a text from Coach Jones out in Tulsa too. And then so I was really leaning towards Fishers or San Antonio.
Right.
And so I was talking to my girlfriend, I was talking to my family and stuff like that. And so I was just kind of like, man, like both the teams that I wanted to go to both reached out. Like, this is one of the hardest decisions.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh my gosh, like I gotta sit here, I gotta think, and I gotta pray on it. Like, God talks to me with like signs sometimes. So I was just kind of looking for signs and like seeing stuff that would pop up. And so I just kept on seeing like things that would represent like San Antonio and like
Hmm.
or like a gunslinger, like a cowboy looking thing. So I was just
Uh-huh.
kind of like, dang, like, all right,
There it is. Yeah.
and so I started talking. So and then I talked to Coach Manaz again. We were talking on the phone for like a good like 3 hours. Like it was
Wow.
yeah. So I actually love talking to him. Like he
Sounds like it. Yeah.
we share most of the same values. So I was just kind of like, like why would I not want to play for this guy? Like,
Right. Yeah.
so it was like, yeah, so that's pretty much it. Then I called Coach Wooten. I was like, hey, look, I really appreciate the opportunity. Like, I know you're a great coach. I know what you got up there is great, and
Yeah.
it's going to be great. I'm sorry, but I just made this decision. And he was very grateful that I called him and told him, and basically saying like the important thing is like I made a decision and stuff like that. Just wishing me the
Yeah.
best. And so,
Yeah. Absolutely. That's awesome to hear.
right, yeah, that's pretty much it though.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm always curious what the recruitment process, because when I hear
It's
some
pretty
stories of like the
stressful. It's
recruitment, yeah,
stressful.
it sounds like it's very stressful. It's
It's
like,
stressful.
man, this it's a pretty big decision,
Yeah.
and luckily you were in a position where you had multiple good options. So
Mhm.
it's not all bad, but it sounds like you'll be walking into a good spot in down in San Antonio, who was a very entertaining team in 2024. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure some of the pieces they got coming on the defensive side of the ball will help straighten things out from last year.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to get down there. I mean, of course, I'm gonna have to compete, and I'm ready to compete. So,
Of
like,
course, yeah.
nothing's guaranteed. So, we'll
So
see.
speaking on the defensive side of the ball, um, what were like the biggest adjustments you had to make going from the outdoor game to the indoor game as a defender? Because in an indoor and arena, if you give up 30 points, that's a pretty good game.
Yeah,
If you give up
it's
30 points in the outdoor game, it's like, what are y'all doing? So
right,
like,
right.
is there a mental aspect where you have to be like, all right, we gave up 28, but that's not bad.
I
Like,
mean,
tell me about that.
in a way, from outdoor to indoor, the mental aspect is kind of the same. You got to have a short memory. You got to
Yep.
have good composure. You got to have like just a good mental state, because like if you just let it get to
Right.
you, then you're done. Like, especially being a linebacker, like if the voice of the defense is just out of it and is all emotional and not thinking, then the whole defense is just going to fall like
Yeah, it's a
dominoes.
domino effect.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's just like you got to keep your composure and your emotions in check, just like outdoor and indoor. So
Right.
it's pretty much the same in that aspect, but more so on like the technical aspect. Uh, that not moving rule sucks. I hate that. I like to outdoors. I like to roam around. I like to stem the line. I like to give like act like I'm blitzing when I'm not. I like to act like I'm in coverage when I'm not. You know,
Uh-huh.
I like to mess with the quarterback. I like to mess with the line. I like to mess with the running back or receive. I like to mess with the offense. And so
Yeah.
like the thing with like indoor, you can't do that. You got to start at 5 yards. You can't move. If you move, it's illegal defense or pretty much like a
Right.
false. It's
Yeah.
like a false start for defense. So it's like that is like the biggest issue to me. I mean, I don't have a problem doing it, but it's still annoying to do.
It's just
So
like, man, the offense has enough advantages. Give us this one thing on defense, please.
right, right. I mean, look,
Well,
point. We're gonna give up points. We're gonna score too, and we just
right.
gotta.
Yeah.
It's just the crucial stops
You're
that
right.
matter the most, and the takeaways. You just got to get
Yeah.
takeaways. Actually, that's another thing. I think takeaways are the most are, if not the most important thing to do as a defense in arena
Right.
football. Takeaways are so important, and then capitalizing on takeaways.
Yeah.
It, it's just as crucial to indoor as it is like to outdoor, if not more crucial. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
think it's probably a little more crucial just because, like, say it's 0-0 team,
Hmm.
like your team gets scored on, but instead interception the other way. That's a 14-point swing. It goes
Yeah, it
from seven
is.
points for the other to
With
7 points
it,
to the
which
other
is
team. So
crazy
that's huge.
in the time frame, that could be like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah. So
so it's like it's crazy. It is crazy.
yeah. Yeah,
Like,
that's one of the things I love about indoor and arena football is that, like
yeah.
you mentioned, you were up by 15 at halftime in that championship game, but that doesn't mean anything. Like
It
this is still anyone's game.
it does not mean anything. Does not
No,
mean anything. You could be
at
up
all.
15. You could be up 15. That means you're up by two. Like
Yep. Yeah.
it's
It does
crazy.
not matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming on here, Dylan.
Yeah. And I appreciate
Before
you.
Yeah, before we get out of here, make sure if you're listening, you're following Dylan on socials. We'll have those linked in the description on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Dylan, what are you looking forward to the most in this 2025 season coming up?
Okay. So usually when I get on like a new team or something, I list like small goals before the big ones, right? So like
Right.
my my first goal is to make the final roster, of course. So
Of course. Yeah.
I can't look forward to a season if I'm not on the final roster. So
Fair. Yeah.
that's my that's my goal right now.
Okay.
Make the final cut. And then let's say speaking after that is to win the IFL championship. So
There you go.
yeah.
Bring it home to San Antonio.
Yep.
So awesome. Thank you so much, Dylan. Again, everyone go follow him on socials. We'll be in touch throughout the season, and best of luck going forward.
All right. Thank you.
Big thanks again to Dylan for joining the show this week. It was really fun being able to talk through that chaotic Omaha Beef championship game last year and talk about his journey, the ups and downs and everything in between. A good story of perseverance for any folks looking to get into the arena game, hearing some of the stuff that he had to go through, and really looking forward to seeing what he can do in San Antonio for the 2025 season. So we're going to dive into some IFL news. And last week, the IFL had their owners meeting, and they got together, all the owners and representatives from the different teams in the league. They got together and they had some rule changes that they rolled out. From a press release that they put out, it said one of the primary objectives of the meeting was refining the game to ensure competitive balance, improve game flow, and enhance the fan experience. Following discussions, the league has announced the following rule updates for the 2025 season. There's going to be a kickoff rule adjustment. Any kicked ball that passes through the end zone without touching the field of play will now be marked at the kicking team's 20-yard line. The previous adjustment was the 25-yard line, removed for consistency. Rule 2, positive yardage in the final minute. Basically, if a team is leading by 14 points or fewer and has possession of the ball during the final minute of the game, they must gain positive yardage. Otherwise, the clock will stop. That basically means no kneel downs if it's a close game, which is a great thing for all football fans out there. 3, linebacker blitzing rule has been simplified. The league has eliminated the restriction on linebackers blitzing outside of the alley. A linebacker who declares a blitz may now rush from inside or outside the alley. So that's a good way to simplify the game a little bit. 4th one was the twist rule was eliminated. So this was a big rule that was a big penalty driver for a lot of defenses, because twisting and stunting is just a natural part of football when you're playing defensive line. And so defensive linemen are now permitted to execute twist moves, which is going to be huge for defenses across the league. The 5th one was wide receiver motion adjustment. The 1-yard grace for wide receivers in motion crossing the line of scrimmage has been removed. So before, if a player was half a yard over the line of scrimmage and the ball was snapped, they didn't call it. They kind of gave him a grace, kind of gave him a halo to work with. That's no longer going to be the case. So they're going to be calling a lot more penalties on that. And if a receiver's foot crosses the line at the snap, it will now be considered a false start. So the defense is getting some help here, and the offenses are going to have to be very, very crisp with their snap counts and their cadences. And then the last rule that they implemented was the linebacker and receiver contact in the box. The rule prohibiting illegal contact between linebackers and wide receivers inside the box has been removed. Contact within this area will now be deemed legal. I think every single one of these is very, very good for the IFL moving forward. When these rules were first introduced, they were introduced in a way to purposely differentiate the IFL from other arena leagues and from the outdoor game. But the IFL is getting to a point now where they need to be able to grow the game a little bit more and at a better rate, a more efficient rate. And when you do that, you need more referees. You want more fans. You want more franchises to come in the coming years. And the way you can do that in all 3 of those fields is to simplify the rule set a little bit. So it's going to be easier for outside fans to learn the indoor game because they won't have to worry about in the alley, out of the alley, twist rule, like all these little ticky-tacky penalties that were real momentum killers in the IFL last season for a lot of teams. And quite frankly, some coaches were throwing out challenges left and right, hoping to be able to challenge for a twist penalty to be called for an illegal defense. It just ruined the flow of the game. So by simplifying that and taking away some of those things, they should streamline the game a little bit more. Less stops throughout the game for these little ticky-tacky penalties. I like all these rule changes. I really do. I think this will help the IFL a ton, specifically the positive yardage rule in the final minutes. Cannot emphasize enough how great it is that there are not going to be kneel downs if the team is up by 14 points or fewer. There were so many games last season that were amazing, amazing football games until that last minute. If this rule had been in effect last season, there would have been at least 10 more games that were absolute bangers. So I love that rule. That's an old arena football rule that they're bringing back for this season, which I think will be great. The linebacker blitzing rule, as mentioned, is going to make the game much more simplified for newcomers to the sport, fans and referees alike. When you're able to simplify the game, you're able to grow the game a little bit more. We talked about this with a guest a few months back about being able to kind of, if the game is on at a sports bar, you can understand what's going on without having to know the nuances of in the alley, no contact between receivers and linebackers, no this, no that. The less of those little tiny nuanced rules, I think the better for the sport and the league. And then the twist rule being eliminated. I think defensive linemen around the league are salivating at this rule change. We're going to see a lot more variations of pass rushes, and quarterbacks are going to have to keep their head on a swivel. Offenses are going to have to be a lot more creative with their offensive game plans, with their blocking, with getting the ball out quickly, because the defenses are going to be coming in quick, and they're going to have a little less restrictions on what they can and can't do. So I like these rule changes that they're doing. I think this makes for a more efficient game. The game should be should flow a little bit longer and or flow a little bit better, I should say, and shouldn't be as long as we've seen some of those games go in last season. Let me know in the comments what rule change you think will have the biggest impact on the game, which one you like the most. I think all 6 of those will have a positive impact, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And then we've got a couple player signings and re-signings, I should say, that I thought were very notable that we'll go through here. First off, in Green Bay Blizzard re-signed quarterback Max Mailer. Max had an outstanding 2024 season with the Green Bay Blizzard. He was one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in all of indoor and arena football, and he was a candidate for the MVP award with Sam Castronova and Jerome Johnson last season. Green Bay will be doing a little bit of a rebuild. They're bringing back, like, I think so far 13 or 14 players from last season, but some of the players that they're having to replace are moving on to bigger leagues, the UFL, the CFL, and they were absolute game breakers especially on the defensive side of the ball. So bringing back Max at quarterback is going to be huge for the Blizzard, and we'll have to see if they can keep up that offensive consistency that they developed throughout the 2024 season. And then wide receiver Quayne Williams is back for the Iowa Barnstormers. He had an incredible rookie season last year at both wide receiver and kick returner for the Barnstormers. He was second team all IFL at wide receiver and then all rookie team for kick returner. He was dynamic, and that was with some of the quarterback woes they had last season. So imagine if he had some consistent quarterback play all throughout the year. Just imagine what numbers he could have put up then. He's poised for another breakout year, but the only way he'll be able to improve upon last year is if they can get their offense going to a better start than they did last season. They had some issues at the quarterback position. Their offense couldn't really get going until week 5, week 6, when they started to finally hit their stride. Iowa has signed a lot of rookies so far in this offseason, and no quarterback signings as of yet, unless I'm missing something. I haven't seen one yet. So it's a little bit worrisome because quarterback was the biggest question mark for Iowa for half of the year last year. They couldn't quite figure out what direction they wanted to take or what they were doing there. And it showed production-wise. They finally got it figured out towards the middle end of last season, but Quayne Williams will be a really, really great piece to build around. Any quarterback that comes in and has him as a weapon, they're going to be thrown to him a lot. And then the Tucson Sugar Skulls re-signed running back Devontae Sapp Lynch. He is the younger brother of Marshawn Lynch, so that's a fun little fact. He's a veteran of the IFL game. Not a lot of noise coming out of Tucson since December or so, but they will be bringing back the veteran running back. He played very well when he was healthy last season for the Tucson Sugar Skulls. That combination of him and Mike Jones was really, really great for them. That was like the only bright spot for that bad Tucson team last year. So bringing back Sapp Lynch and seeing what they end up doing at quarterback, you have an idea of what they're going to go with based on who they've signed so far, but they still have a lot of roster moves to go. But they're going to have a ton of young players, but there's still about a month and a half of player signings to go. So we'll see what they end up, what their roster ends up looking like. But signing Devontae Sapp Lynch is a good start. And then moving over to Arena Football 1, not much to touch on player transaction-wise, but there was a pretty big announcement from the league with a new partner. So from the press release, it says, this multifaceted partnership will encompass game day activations, on-field promotions, and collaborative charitable endeavors with the local communities. Verizon businesses' expertise in technology and connectivity will enhance the fan experience, streamline league operations, and provide valuable resources to support community initiatives. Now, just on name brand alone, this is a pretty big get for the AF1 and arena football in general. Verizon is one of the biggest companies in the U.S. and I'm very curious how this ends up working out amongst the entire league. Like streamlining league operations, that's going to be huge. That's usually what does teams in. That usually is what does leagues in logistically and operations wise. They're a mess financially. They're just all over the place. But I am curious how the technology and connectivity will enhance the fan experience, like the release says. Does that mean folks physically at each individual game will have an enhanced experience in some way at the arenas? Is that the entire fan base that is watching any of these games from home as well? It's very vague, and to be honest, it's a lot of buzzwords. But I'm very interested in seeing how it plays out. They go on to mention the enhanced game day experience. It says Verizon Business will be integrated into the game day experience, offering interactive fan engagement opportunities and leveraging technology to create a more immersive and connected atmosphere. Again, a lot of buzzwords, but it could be cool. Like we're just gonna have to see how it plays out. On-field promotions, fans can expect exciting on-field activations and promotions sponsored by Verizon Business, adding another layer of entertainment to the games. The activations and promotions part seems like it's opening up a really good revenue stream for the league and these teams. But again, we'll have to see how it ends up playing out. And then community impact. AF1 and Verizon Business will collaborate on charitable initiatives in the community, focusing on programs that support local youth and promote positive social impact. This partnership marks a significant milestone for AF1, demonstrating the league's commitment to growth and innovation. By partnering with a global leader like Verizon Business, AF1 is positioned to elevate the sport of arena football and deliver an unparalleled experience to fans across the nation. So, a lot of corporate speak there, a lot of buzzwords, but it could end up being pretty cool depending on how things shake out and depending on how things become a little bit more clear as we're now 40 something days away from week 1 of the AF1 season kicking off. So it's a really big get for AF1. Like I said, this is a very big partnership. It could be the first of many based on how things are looking and based on if you're reading between the lines on certain things and certain videos. So we'll see what else ends up coming down the pipe. But this again, I cannot understate how big of a get this is for AF1 and arena football in general. And that's the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch on YouTube, listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thanks to Dylan for joining the show and talking about his football journey. So make sure you're following him and let him know you heard him on Off the Wall. If you need to make sure you're following us on socials too. Follow Dylan and follow us at Off the Wall FB, F as in foot, B as in ball. Off the Wall FB. We're on Instagram. We're on X/Twitter. We're on TikTok, and we are on Blue Sky. So go give us a follow on each of those and shoot me a DM, reply to something, say, hey, I heard you. What up? You say that exactly. Say that exact sentence, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, really appreciate everyone's support so far. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're liking the video, subscribing to the channel. We've been uploading a ton of different shorts on YouTube, so make sure you're watching some of those. Watch some of the recent episodes of the Turf Tapes. Got some really exciting things coming. Turf Tapes-esque and more Turf Tapes styled things coming in the future. So I'm really excited for the direction that is going, but the best way that you can stay engaged with that is by subscribing to the channel and being the first to know when those things are happening. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, again, rate the show on the show channel, on the show page, 5 stars, like the episode, share it with a friend, do all the things and stuff. So really appreciate you taking the time to watch and listen to the show today. Indoor and arena football season are very, very, very close. It's 40 something days, depending on when you're listening to this. It could be even sooner if you're listening like a week before the season, but there's only 24 hours in a day. And the fact that you chose to spend about 46 minutes of that listening here means a lot. So really appreciate the support so far and looking forward to seeing how we can continue to grow this thing out and grow the game of arena and indoor football. So hope you take care. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next time.